Hey guys, how's it going? This is Bobby Kryptonite here, and welcome to another CryptoChef video. Many of you, like me, will be off to university this year, so I thought I'd show you a simple dish that you can make yourself so that you and your student friends don't starve and won't go bankrupt. So today, I'm going to show you how to make cottage pie. The traditional recipe is minced beef, carrots, peas and potatoes, but we don't do much by the book in this household, so we're going to do cottage pie a la BK. We're going to use a kilo of minced beef, 2 sticks of celery with the leaves left on for flavour, 2 medium leeks, 2 medium carrots, 1 large onion, half a small sweet, bay leaves, cumin, but we don't have cumin so we're going to use curry powder, crushed chillies and potatoes. The total cost of ingredients in this meal is £7.50 and will serve 6 to 8 people, or in my case 3 to 4. Somebody who watched the last video expressed some concern that I didn't appear to wash my hands at any point in the video. I did in fact wash my hands, I just didn't film it because I didn't think it would be particularly interesting, and in all my shows I aim to bring you the most riveting and thrilling content, but personal hygiene is also very important, and I want you all to know that mine is second to none. So before we embark on any adventures in the kitchen, I shall first wash my hands. First we're going to prepare the onion. You should top it and tail it. Then you should peel off the outer layer and then the first inner layer of the skin. Et voila! After chopping the onion in half, you should chop down vertically like that whilst holding on to the onion, because when this one's quite big and they're also very slippery and they do have a tendency, as you can see, to come apart. So we have to be very careful when we're chopping our onion. Then organise it like that, bring it round 90 degrees and chop it down the latitudes like so, and you should chop it fairly finely but not too finely. And if it starts to slip like that, this is a safety tip, if it starts to peel off like that, you shouldn't try and chop it all together because you might cut yourself. You should just cut it like so, and then improvise later on by cutting these bits up like that. There's a sort of wrap for onion preparation, and that is tail it, top it, peel it, chop it. Take a frying pan, stick it on a low heat, and then gently add your mince. Now, the mince often has a paper membrane underneath which you should be careful to remove. And this beef is lean beef with less than 12% fat, which is enough to cook it in, so that's why we haven't added any fat to the beef. And then you should just put apart with your wooden spatula, but be gentle and careful not to destroy it. I've now added all the mince to the pan, and I've added the onions. The pan does look rather full, but the mixture will reduce down as it cooks. I'm now going to just broddle it about from time to time, and it shall be ready when the mince has gone brown. Then you transfer it to the slow cooker. As you can see, it's coming on quite nicely. The meat's reduced down, and the liquid you can see bubbling in the pan hasn't been added by us. That's what's come out of the meat. And the meat's going that nice brown colour. So now it's time to add our spices. You should add half a teaspoon of curry powder and 1/4 teaspoon of the crushed chillies. And then you should mix it in to get an even spread of those lovely flavours. Now we haven't added any salt yet, because if you add it now, it would make the meat's texture all tough and nasty, so we add salt later. Now we have a choice. Either you can keep cooking it in the frying pan, or you can cook it in one of these. This is the family slow cooker, which we've had for 24 years. Back in 1988 it cost £32, but today you can get them for £8 in the supermarket. But those ones are made in China, so the quality won't be quite as good as one of these. Now I'm going to turn off the gas, and then I'm going to add this to the slow cooker. When you've got a pan that's as full as this is, you ought to use a spoon like that to move the contents of the pan. Go in there gently and be careful not to send it flying. You just gently transfer it into your slow cooker, which has been warming up while we were doing everything else. It's a bit of a Blue Peter situation. Here's a slow cooker we heated up earlier. Go. And now we're going to add the bay leaves. You should break the veins in the back of the leaves with your thumb or fingernails. And now we play the family game of find the bay leaves, because you don't actually eat bay leaves, but you add them to the mixture during cooking to add a wee bit of extra flavour. So when it comes to serving it and actually making it into a pie, you need to make sure that the bay leaves have been removed. Now it's time to wash the carrots. You should run it under a cold tap and give it a good scrub all round with a vegetable brush. However, you shouldn't peel the carrots because the best of the flavour is just under the skin. So if you want your dish to have a really kind of wow flavour, leave the skins on the carrot. Then you should top and tail it, chop it longitudinally, and then chop it along so you've got lots of little semicircular bits of carrot, like so. It's a similar procedure for celery. Give it a good scrub with your vegetable brush because a lot of earth gets around celery when it's growing. Then, once you've done that, you should top and tail it, but remember to keep those leaves. As for the leeks, you should give them a quick scrub with your vegetable brush, but the problem with leeks is that most of the dirt is in fact lurking inside, often down to about there. So you should take the ends off, and then you should cut it in half, and then you should rinse each half, well, rinse the bottom half down like that. And as for the top half, you should make a slit about there gently, and then open it out into sheets, and you can see some of the dirty stuff there. Open it out and rinse each part to get all the dirt off, and if you can, try and put it all back together again to make chopping it a wee bit easier. this is the bottom half that I put to one side earlier. I'm just going to do a similar thing with it just to be absolutely sure. There shouldn't be any dirt in it, but no harm in taking precautions. So we're just going to have a wee look inside, run the water through it to make sure that there's absolutely no dirt in it. And then you chop it down along the length of the leek, like so. I've peeled and washed the turnip, and now it's time to slice it in preparation for dicing it. You should make the slices about 1/4 of an inch to 1 centimetre thick. When dicing a turnip, you should take one slice at a time because it's quite a hard vegetable, and you should do it like so along the way, but keeping it all in one bit to make it easier when you're doing it at 90 degrees. Then you should turn it round and dice it like that. Now you should do it into relatively small chunks because turnip's quite a woody vegetable, so large chunks would take a longer time to cook. The meat's well on its way and the vegetables have all been added, so now it's time to add some salt to help the vegetables cook. You should add about a teaspoonful. Nearly 6 hours have elapsed since we put this together, so now it's time to taste it and adjust the salt accordingly. So, got our spoon here, going to take the lid off, and as you can see, this was full when we started, and now it's reduced down quite a bit. Now you put your spoon in there, make sure you get some of the liquid, as that will help you judge it. And take a wee bit, but not too much, so that it's got time to cool before you put it in your mouth. And at this stage you should also remove the bay leaves, but now we're going to taste it. Very nice, but it could probably do with half a teaspoon more of salt. Now we're going to make the mashed potato topping for the pie. First we need to clean our potatoes, and then we should just, with the scrubbing brush like we did earlier, just go over them and get all the dirt off. Then you should boil them in their skins, and you really have to leave the skins on, otherwise they'll turn to mush, and we're making mashed potatoes, not mush potatoes. We're going to boil them in a pan that my parents bought 20 years ago in Italy. And we've got 1.5 to 1 3/4 kilos of potatoes here for the quantity of cottage pie that we're making. So, the spuds are washed and they're now in the pan. They've been covered in water to an appropriate level, and now it's time to add 2 heaped teaspoons of salt. You should bring these up to the boil and then let them simmer. After that, you put the lid on and let it do away. Okay, it's now been some time since we put the potatoes in the pan, and our temperature gauge would suggest that it's boiling or very nearly boiling. But there is an easier way of telling if your potatoes are boiling, and that is by lifting the lid. I think you would agree with me that they are indeed boiling. Okay, we have now transferred the mixture from the slow cooker to these 2 casserole dishes, and now it's time to add 2 heaped serving spoonfuls of frozen peas to each, like so. Except, of course, the proper way to do it is without dropping frozen peas all over the worktop and the floor. That perhaps doesn't look like quite enough, because I often like to have a fair few, well, a good amount of ingredients, so perhaps it could do with another spoonful. So, Now that we've given the spuds a bit more time, it's time to test them to see if they're ready yet. What you should do is take a sharp knife and then stick the point of the knife into one of the potatoes, and if you feel nearly no resistance, then the spuds are about ready. We're nearly at that stage, so we're going to give these a couple minutes longer. Okay, the spuds are now boiled, and now it's time for the bit that nobody likes, peeling them whilst they're still hot. So we've got our knife, we're just going to get it like so, and bring the skin back off like so. Just go around the potato until you have taken off all the skin. Okay, the potatoes are now peeled. Now we're going to slice them up with the knife, add a knob of butter and mash them. Now we don't have a potato masher here, so I'm going to mash them with a fork. The potatoes have been roughly mashed and salt and pepper has been added as well as the butter. Sometimes the Italians use nutmeg instead of pepper, but we're just sticking with pepper for now. And to make it a bit more creamy, both in flavour and in texture, we're going to add some milk, but not too much, mind, because in my opinion there are a few things worse than soggy mashed potato. So we're going to first add a tablespoon of milk, and after that we're going to do it by judgment. Okay, the mashed potato is now ready. We've added some salt to improve the flavour and some milk to improve the spreadability. Now we're going to take some of it, put it in the dish with the pie, and then spread it around. Okay, we've spread out the mashed potato and got it nice and flat and level. Now I'm going to make a pattern on the top with the tines of the fork, just give it some nice lines, and once we've done that we're going to pop it in the oven at 150 degrees Celsius, that's 370 Fahrenheit for our American viewers, for about half an hour, or until the top has gone a goldeny brown colour. And here we have it, the finished article. It looks very tasty, I've enjoyed making it, it isn't too expensive and doesn't take up too much of your time in the preparation and assembly. I must say, however, that I made a slight mistake earlier on in the video. I said that 150 degrees Celsius was 370 degrees Fahrenheit for the American viewers. We've looked at conversions and it isn't, in fact. It's more like 300 Fahrenheit. So if you're cooking in Fahrenheit, please cook at 300 degrees Fahrenheit, unless of course you have a penchant for incinerated food. This is Bobby Kryptonite. I hope you've enjoyed this. I know I have. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.